Having registered concern with the Australian Human Rights Commission in relation to the Nazi style of human rights violations of the state-sponsored forced medical interventions pertaining to water fluoridation, we received a particularly disturbing response. They incredulously claim that the violation of human rights falls beyond their chartered remit. Go figure. This calculated avoidance of responsibility is disappointing, although not altogether unexpected given their routinely evasive methods of dealing with authentic human rights abuse. Clearly, the department is irretrievably corrupted into a transparent facade of its originally intended purpose, pitifully reduced to a neutered instrument of political correctness, constrained to managing issues of discrimination at the expense of serious human rights violations. For example, if you or I were to mock the crutchless frilly knickers of a one-legged gay midget, then the Australian Human Rights Commission will immediately leap into vigorous legal defence, but seemingly not in answer to vicious human rights violations. It's entirely unacceptable that in response to the deliberate poisoning of public water supplies using hazardous, toxic industrial waste known to inflict incalculable health problems, including cancer and death, and that's to say nothing of returning 93% of its toxicity back into the environment, that they propose doing absolutely nothing. Their indefensibly lame reply states the Commission only has the power to inquire into complaints alleging a breach of human rights when they involved an act or practice of the Commonwealth. Well, what on earth are we paying them for? How can they seriously call themselves a Human Rights Commission while refusing to investigate obvious human rights violations? Well, of course, the question is entirely rhetorical, since anyone with half a brain knows that all these government offices are entirely cosmetic, and they exist only to mask and obfuscate their incessant crimes. Access to clean, unadulterated, healthy water is an inalienable basic human right. Any so-called authority preventing this access is guilty of human rights abuse, whereby it is the mandated obligation of any institution concerned with human rights violations to urgently investigate and take remedial action. In spite of the 2 years of appallingly corrupt mismanagement of Tim Wilson, a hitherto vociferous critic of the department, and at one time who actually called for its abolition, the Australian Human Rights Commission cannot provide immunity to state government human rights violations on the absurd premise that states are not part of the Commonwealth. Serious danger presents less from the originators of evil, but more from those who do nothing to prevent it. Their statement of this gross human rights violation not being their responsibility is manifestly untrue, because the prevention of evil is the responsibility of all decent human beings. No difference exists between the current unlawful actions of the WA state government and the activities of the infamous Dr. Joseph Mengele. As previously reported, in the wake of World War II, Nazi war criminals were tried, convicted and sentenced to death on charges of perpetrating medical interventions without informed consent. That exact crime is being perpetrated by the West Australian Department of Health. It's a gross human rights violation to which the Australian Human Rights Commission must take immediate and meaningful action. Failure to do so will make them a knowing participant in that crime, whereby their entire department could be fully culpable. I don't suggest that they are evil people, but refusing to take action or remotely assist in this matter does constitute evil doing. We therefore urge the Australian Human Rights Commission to do everything possible to assist and ask that they carefully reconsider their given response. Thank you for watching.